Watson.
G'day, mate. I'm Bill Watson, your safety orangutan from the land down under, and today we're going to talk about chainsaw safety. And for this, I'm going to need some help from a human assistant, my distant relative, Richard Watson. Hey, Bill, how's it going? Pretty good, then. I just wanted to talk about chainsaw safety, and I appreciate your assistance. Anytime, Bill. If it's one thing I love talking about, it's a good old Canadian weed whacker. Let's get into it. The first thing we need to understand is the hierarchy of hazard controls. In regards to hazards, we need to make a selection on how we're going to deal with the scenario we found ourselves in. So, what are our options here, Richard? Well, we have 5 fundamental controls total, and those are elimination, substitution, engineering controls, administrative controls, and PPE. For the purposes of this presentation, we'll focus on the last 3: engineering controls, administrative controls, and PPE. So, Richard, what engineering controls have you humans come up with? The ones we will cover today are the 10 safety features, the 4 cutting sections of the bar, and the chain. All right, Richard, take us through those 10 safety features then. All right, it's easiest for me to remember if I start at the back of the saw and work my way to the front. So, we've got our right handguard or rear handguard, got our throttle interlock, got our on-off switch, we've got our rotating parts covers here and here, we've got our left handle, so that makes 2 handles for operation, we've got our chain brake, we've got our chain catch, our spark arresting muffler, and the anti-vibration feature on the handle. If any one of those 10 safety features is inoperable, we can't use the saw anymore, we need to take it to the shop, do a little bit of maintenance. That's right, Richard. Keep in mind, chain catches are often made of plastic and can break easily. They do make replacements, and they're really inexpensive. On another note, people often take out the spark arrestor from the spark arresting muffler. We don't want to do this. It's best to clean off the carbon and replace. It's a critical part of wildfire prevention, and we want to keep our forests safe. All right, Richard, what's next? Well, now we're going to talk about the 4 cutting sections of the bar. For the 4 cutting sections of the bar, we have push, pull, kickback, and attack. So when you use the push section, it'll push the saw back into you. When you use the pull section, it'll pull the saw into the wood. When you hit the kickback section, that's what's going to make the saw kick back. And then the attack portion, we'll worry about later when we get into some chainsaw handling. For now, we're going to avoid the kickback portion by avoiding cutting with the tip of the bar altogether. We're going to do our best to use the push and the pull. Good show, Richard. Now the final engineering control we have to talk about is the chain. Did you know that something could be considered more dangerous if it's not sharp? Really? That sounds backwards to me. What do you mean? Well, if your chain's not set properly, then you're going to have a hard time getting through that timber. So, you need to have a good sharp chain that's going to dig right in there. If you've got it sharp and you've got it digging, then you're less likely to have kickback. You've got to have a good sharp chain. Always remember, a sharp chain is a safe chain. That's right, Bill. And I love ripping into some timber with a good sharp Canadian weed whacker. Keep in mind that many of your local hardware stores are going to sharpen your chain for you at little to no cost, and new chains aren't that expensive. We can also resharpen our chains and set it exactly to your specifications. If you want to subscribe to our channel, we'll do a video later on, and I'll show you how I like my chains. Good. Onward to administrative controls. Administrative controls in this instance are how you handle your body in relation to this tool, the saw. So, we need to know how to hold the saw, how to start the saw, and how to wield the saw. These will be our administrative controls we'll work on today, and as you go through, make sure that your body is doing the right thing, because muscle memory is smarter than head memory. As we integrate this into our muscle memory, it'll give us good habits for later on and make your life easier in the long run. All right, Richard, show 'em how it's done. So when we're holding the saw, it's important to keep your right hand on the rear handle. Your left hand goes on the top handle, and we want a full wrap on both of our thumbs. We have awesome opposable thumbs. We'll get a much better grip if we wrap both of them around the chainsaw. Never in the history of mankind have they made a left-handed chainsaw, and it automatically puts you in the line of fire in the event of a kickback. If you hold it in your right hand the proper way, it puts you out of the line of fire when the kickback happens. So, you want to be sure and have it in the right hand as it is designed to hold in your right hand. So now that we've got a good firm grip on our Canadian weed whacker, it's time to start her up. There are two approved methods to starting a chainsaw, the leg lock and the ground start. To do the leg lock, you want to brace the saw between your legs, this way, not this way, 45-degree angle, grab the ripcord, and give her a rip there, bud. To do the ground start, you want to put your foot on this tab and use your left hand to hold the saw firmly. And then you can give her that good rip. So, those are the two approved methods of starting a chainsaw. Well done, Richard. Let's show them what not to do. All too often, you see people drop starting the chainsaw. This is not an approved method for two reasons that I've heard so far. The first reason is that you don't have control over the saw, and it goes all willy-nilly when you're drop starting it with one hand. Two is that it's bad for your shoulders, and you'll quickly see an overuse injury constantly doing this. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm interested in reading these comments. So, now that we've got the saw started, how are we going to wield it? When wielding the saw, it's best practice to keep it between your hips and your shoulders. You definitely don't want to cut overhead. You lose a lot of control, and in the event of kickback, it's not going to be pretty. When ground cutting, you're going to drop down to one knee, hold the saw off to your right hand side so you avoid that path of kickback. That's it for administrative controls. Thank you for demonstrating, Richard. Now we're on to our final topic, PPE, the last line of defense between you and injury. So for PPE, we're going to start at the top and work our way down. Presumably, since we're doing tree work, there's going to be overhead hazards, so we want to have a good hard hat. Next, we want to have hearing protection so that we can hear our grandbabies when we grow up. We want to have some good Z87 plus safety glasses. You want to look right here for the Z87. We want to have some good cut-resistant gloves. And last but not least, the chaps. While each independent part of our PPE has its own inspection, today I just want to talk a little bit about chaps. So if you notice, one side of the chaps is all boogered up. The other side seems okay. So, why is that? If I hold that chainsaw properly in my right hand, I'm going to get my nicks. If I get a little surface nick, that's okay. But if the stuffing starts coming out, they're no good. Can't use those anymore. We got a good pair right here. And the best part is, show 'em, Richard. Alright. There's no backside to 'em. So, for $80 to $100, you could save yourself a trip to the emergency room, or have a nice Valentine. Next time you decide to pick up your chainsaw, be sure to remember the engineering controls, administrative controls, and the last line of defense between you and injury, PPE. If you like this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe.
Bill.